All right, all right. Hello, everybody. Is everything set up? Let's make sure we're good today because yesterday we had a little bit of technical issues. We'll just make sure that everybody can see me and hear me, and we will go from there. Let me just pull this up, check to make sure. Well, we got Zoo in the chat. What's up, Zoo? Welcome back to the stream. Just making sure everything is looking and sound good. I want to make sure you guys can hear me today. Okay, cool. Awesome. Okay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome, everybody, to another stream. Thank you for joining me here. Got a lot of stuff to talk about today with markets and things moving. Also got some cool decorations that we added to the stream that I want to play with. So you already know we're going to be doing some of that. Let me pull off that logo just so we can get a little bit better of a view. Welcome back to the show. Welcome back to the stream. If you're new here, I want to just welcome you. We got some new people almost every day nowadays, it seems, which is really cool. So if you're here hanging out with me, I want to roll this across the bottom of the screen. You can join us Monday through Friday if you're watching this back at a later time, but you want to join with us live. I answer questions and I just chat with people throughout. You can check it out down below. You can just click the subscribe button and also the notification bell, and that will make it so that you can tune in with me live. It'll give you notifications for whenever I go live, but I usually do it Monday through Friday, as it says there, right here at 9 a.m. U.S. Eastern. So you guys, if you're newer, welcome. If you've been here for a while, welcome back. Happy to have you back hanging out with us. So we got some stuff to look at for sure, and we got some new decorations for the stream. I don't know. I think it looks a little nicer today. So with that background, with the whole stuff going on over here, I'm so over here. It's backwards, so it's always like I'm looking at a mirror. Nick, how was your trade on dollar Swiss? I'm still in that trade currently. What do you think about the rise in minimum wage how it may affect the U.S.? I'm not too sure. I'm not enough of an economist there to answer you perfectly with that. Rising wages is an interesting thing potentially for inflation. It's also an interesting thing for the economy. When the average pay goes up, that could be worse for employment, right? Because if employers have to pay more money, it could cause them to hire less people or to do part-times, or there's workarounds that a lot of times happen as well. So I don't know the answer to that, but I'm there's always that curious side effect. Is that 25% off promo still running, and how long for? Hey, Andrew, yes, by the end of the week, it'll be closed, usually by, or I think our plan is to go until the 1st of the month. So check that out if you want that access. If you want access to the gold membership for 25% off, that is for a limited time, but definitely worth it if you're looking to join us for the longer term. Let me get that banner off the bottom of the screen. You guys, I'm trying to get it to a point so I can get somebody in here who's going to sort of help me with the live streams to run it. That'll be fun to have somebody who can run banners and stuff. So that's sort of the plan longer term. But with that said, why don't we hop into some stuff here and take a look at what is going on for the day. Now, there is some big news that we need to pop up on the screen. So let's go ahead and convert over to our screen view, and we'll pop up something here for you to take a look at. So let's go really quick. I want to show you guys this. Forexfactory.com. We'll just go over here to look at the news for the day. And it seems like we've got some stuff coming in hot on the US dollar side of things. Okay, so we have an FOMC statement at 2 p.m. US Eastern. Okay, now the reason that this matters, why traders care, I always like to read this just because I find it a little bit helpful. I don't know about you guys. Let me lower myself. There we go. Perfect. It's the primary tool for the FOMC to communicate with investors about monetary policy. It contains the outcome of their vote on interest rates and other policy measures, along with commentary about the economic conditions that influence their vote. Most importantly, it discusses the economic outlook and offers clues on the outcome of future votes. So it has to do with interest rates, monetary policy, etc. You can see it's also called interest rate statement, Fed statement, monetary policy statement. It matters because they can leave clues, they can drop ideas about what their plans are for interest rates, which is a huge deal, because when you're talking interest rates is one of the biggest pieces that moves currencies up, down, sideways, wherever. Because remember that if you don't know what an interest rate is, it is essentially how much is paid out in terms of interest or gain to investors that hold something, right? So if you're, another way I always think of it is like a dividend stock. If you bought so-and-so stock, right? Let's say you bought, I don't know, you bought Apple. I own Apple. I've owned Apple for a long time now. I feel like at least 4 or 5 years. So Apple pays a very small dividend. I'm not even sure. I don't think it's even 1%, but let's just say for simplicity that it's 1%. It might be like 1.2%, I think. I can't remember. Well, Apple pays you 1% to hold their stock per year just as a dividend. Now you're getting that hopefully on top of a rising Apple stock price, right? But the idea here is that if this were to go up to, say, 3%, it would be a very big deal, right? If their dividend was to spike dramatically, people would be like, oh, wow, I want to hold on to some Apple because not only am I going to get a good company, I'm hopefully going to get a nice payout on interest. Well, a healthy, growth of an economy usually leads to, in many cases, a growing interest rate. So if a central bank talks about raising rates sooner, it could be very, very big. Hey, I got you something, you guys. I'm going to show you guys this. Let's pop up the inflation versus interest rate here on the screen. So this is a little visual that I made. It helps me sort of understand this concept because people sometimes they're confused about inflation. They're confused about interest rates. And these are the things that really do move the price of currencies. So what I have here on the screen, you can feel free to screenshot this if you want it for later or whatnot. But this is a quick way to understand inflation versus interest rates. What it's saying is that if inflation rises at a strong rate, it could lead to a hike in interest rates over there on the right side of the screen, right? And if there's deflation, if there's slow, inflation, that's also sort of negative. That could cause rate cuts. Okay, so this is why we care about a growing economy. GDP, a growing GDP could also mean growing inflation. Rising employment could also lead to inflation. So these things could cause rate hikes, which is exactly like we just talked about. Higher interest rates attract investors to a currency or to bonds in that economy, etc. Right? That's a quick lesson on that. But I know sometimes people get confused about that. And so I like to go through it every once in a while. All right. Let's take a look at some of these charts. Ish says, hope you take a look at gold deeper today. Don't you worry, Ish. We will try and get to gold. We always do it. Everybody wants to know. For example, JP right now, last rate was -1% and JPY is weak. So I believe, isn't it minus 0.1%? I think is what you mean, Neil. But yes, you're right. It is a negative interest rate. So when you have a negative interest rate, that is very much not attractive to investors, right? And they're doing that on purpose. They want to weaken their currency so they're more competitive in the trade war. So anyways, let's look at euro dollar here. I want to start out with this one. We should probably also real quick just look at the currency heat map on the website just to see where we're at with that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to head over to a1trading.com. This is my website. Feel free to use this anytime you want. And I'm going to pull this up and we're going to go over to currency heat map. Again, all this is free stuff for you if you want it. And head over to the currency heat map to see what's moving today. Okay, so the Aussie seems to be a bit weak on the day. We've also got the New Zealand showing strength. Kind of interesting that these two are diverging because a lot of times they move together. On top of that, we've got a mixed euro, got a slightly bullish dollar. Going to be interesting. This is going to be a big one today, you guys, because watching that US dollar with the FOMC news that's coming out, the meeting, could cause some spikes in volatility on the US dollar. So please keep in mind, if you're a day trader, if you're looking at the US dollar today, you got to be careful because at 2 p.m., you're going to have some big volatility potentially, right? We don't know if it's going to be a crazy volatile move or not, but we do know that it has the potential during those sort of meeting minutes to really, really move. So be cautious if you have US dollar positions open. What about the yen? The yen today is a little bit mixed. It's moving lower against the CAD and the New Zealand and sort of flat in other areas. What about the old pound? So the pound seems to be doing a whole lot of nothing right now, not moving too much. But again, I'm going to keep an eye on some of the crosses. All of these cross against the dollar have the potential to move today with that news coming out at 2 p.m. Eastern. Okay. So Crispin says, let's pop up his comment. Crispin says, can you explain the heat map a little bit more, Nick? Sure. So the heat map, all it is we're taking a look at all of the 8 major currencies, right? Going down the list here on the side. These are your 8 majors, right? Crossed against the 8 majors again. And what this does is it says which currencies are strongest, which currencies are weakest. It's a very simple like heat map of what's moving and what's not. So for example, if we were to look at the pound against the yen, what we would do is we would say, okay, if I want to look at pound yen, I just go pound over to yen. And we can see that the pound yen today is moving 0.01% up. So it's barely moving at all, right? If we wanted to look at something more interesting, we could take a look at, for example, New Zealand, Swiss franc. There it is, moving bullish today. So now with that information, the reason I like that is we could say, okay, well, that's maybe one to look at if you like trading stuff that's moving, right? If you're a trader who likes to trade stuff that is a little bit more volatile, a little bit more fast paced, it seems like we've got some momentum, got some movement there on the New Zealand Swiss franc. Does that make sense? Hopefully that helps. All right. So let's real quick, we'll go back to the Euro USD and see what we can talk about here. So the Euro dollar has been on a strong uptrend. So we're going to do some technicals. We're going to talk about what's going on in the world. Let's just jump into it. So, whoops, wrong thing. So we're looking at the Euro dollar on the 4-hour chart. I do want to look at the daily really quick because I want to remind you guys just of what we were talking about yesterday in case you maybe missed yesterday's stream. Shame on you, but it's all right. You're here today. The euro dollar, I'm kidding, by the way, euro dollar on the daily chart, right around this area, right around 1.215, was in a pretty interesting scope to me because we had multiple times where this was a ceiling for price, and now it looked like price may want to continue higher. It's again very much today going to be impacted by or maybe decided by the news that we have coming out this afternoon. If we get some very positive expectations by the Fed, things are looking very, very good and growth looks very promising, that could be a very positive thing for the US dollar. On the flip side, if we get some concerns about, nowhere near raising rates or anything like that, then we very well could see the opposite happen. We could see the US dollar get weaker and cause EU to go up. Why? Because in that case, what we'd be saying is we'd say, well, if we think if there's going to be weak news for the dollar today, it could cause the euro to go higher, relatively speaking. We are currently sitting on the lower time frames, some interesting levels. So we're going to talk about that in just a moment. But I want to show you guys this. So if you're a dollar bull, watch for some breakouts here. So we're going to go look at that. So on the daily chart, I just want to remind you guys, we've got this level overhead. So if price does pop up to this point, I'm going to keep an eye on that as a potential area. If you are a dollar bull, as I am right now, that has some potential there. But on the flip side, let's see if we can drop it down to the old 1-hour chart. I want to show you guys this. So on the 1-hour chart, and maybe actually easier to see on the 4-hour. Let's see if we can do the 4-hour chart. On the 4-hour chart, there it is. You've got some nice little structure here. So if we just do this right there, got some nice uptrend structure here on the Euro USD. You can see we're looking at the 4-hour view, and what we notice is that there's a nice uptrend, clear demand each time price dips, right? Each time we dip, there's a nice little buyer's rally that pushes price through up here. And if you're just looking at it from a technical view, it looks like euro dollar has the potential to do another one of these and continue up to that level that we pointed out on the daily chart. And this is just using that top-down analysis. We're looking at that daily chart, and we're saying, let's walk it down to the 4-hour, let's walk it down to the 1 hour, and use multiple time frames to sort of gauge where we think we could go on the euro dollar. On top of that, there's a story right now with the euro. There's no question. I don't have any trades open on the euro, but there is a story right now developing with short-term bullishness on the euro that could lead to doing okay the rest of 2021. Start of 2021 was very slow for the euro. There's a lot of concern about slow vaccine rollout, a lot of slow growth in the region, right? And then that sort of recently has turned away. We've actually seen a little bit of bullishness on a bounce back for Europe the second part of 2021. That's at least the story right now. With that story, it's one of those things when the story catches fire and the trend starts going, it has potential to keep going. So I'm not super convinced. I'm not super bullish on the euro at this time, but I will say I'm also being cautious to short until we get something that is either very dollar positive or something very negative for the euro. Okay, so that's what I'm looking at. Pray for India. Yes, I know cases spiked dramatically there, so definitely keep your thoughts out open for India right now with going through that. That's no fun. There's a lot of people in India. It's a rough situation when you have a lot of people and a pandemic going on. So for sure. So euro dollar, what I'm saying here also is keep an eye on this level, because this is a sort of a really pivotal spot. You've got two things lining up. You got this nice little upward trend, like I was mentioning, higher lows forming as demand comes in each time. And then on top of that, you also have a region of past resistance turned support that doesn't seem to want to give up just yet. That is where the news is going to come in. Notice something kind of interesting here, you guys. Since the start of the week, we've really been flat on the euro against the dollar. Why is that? Well, you could argue that it's just because it's just doing normal stuff technically, but maybe you could also argue that because there's that fundamental news around the corner on Wednesday at 2 p.m., big announcements or potential announcements. Since then, the euro dollar has sort of stalled out and has been waiting for that news. Again, a lot of times you're going to get on YouTube, you're going to get people who will only talk about the technical analysis part of trading. And although I do love the technicals and I use all of the tools that I can, I would be missing part of the story, part of the full picture if I wasn't looking at, upcoming news, COT reports, fundamental drivers for a currency exchange, right? So when I'm looking at this, when I see this sideways, okay, it makes sense. We're waiting on the news. When the news drops, this is going to be a deciding moment. Is it going to hold and keep going higher? In which case there might be very, very, good potential trades to the upside, looking to ride that up to that 1.215 that we pointed out. Or we get the flip side. We get something that is very dollar positive. And in this case, if something very positive comes out for the US dollar, if the narrative by the Fed comes out very positive today, we could see the flip side. We could see a break of this key structure, in which case I think there's opportunities to try and look for the breakdown of this Euro USD uptrend. So both scenarios are possible. I'm not here to know the future or anything like that, right? I don't know what's going to happen with certainty or anything. I wish I did. It'd be really easy to trade if you knew exactly what was going to happen all the time. But I don't. And so my purpose here is looking at the facts, looking at what we have in front of us and saying, here's some if-then statements that I'm willing to do. So I'm constructing my trading scenario. Should we move higher because of some bearish US dollar news, right? We could see this in black happen. You know what? Actually, I'm going to illustrate this because it's going to be a little bit confusing. So the red scenario here would be in the case that we get some dollar positive news that causes the euro to go lower. And the black scenario that I would be looking at here would be if we get some bearish US dollar news at 2 p.m. That could cause EU to push higher. So there might be a trade either way. For me, the trade that I'd be more interested would be this one. So I am already bullish on the US dollar. So if this scenario were to happen, I could see myself looking for shorts on the breakdown of this uptrend, right? It's almost like you're waiting to see this structure fail. And some of the best trade setups come from scenarios like this, where you do something like this. You say, okay, well, there's this nice little uptrend and it's great and all, and I'm not going to get in front of this. I'm not going to try and fight the trend here. But if it starts to break to the downside, reverse, there might be some opportunities to get involved with that. So that's how I'm looking at Euro USD. Real quick, let's do something experimental here. What do you guys think? We're going to pull up the next one, which is going to be gold. Let's pull up gold. And I want to, before I make any comments, I want to see what you guys think. On gold today, comment or chat in the box really quick. Are you bullish or are you bearish? In the chat, drop it real quick. Let me know. You can just comment bull or bear. Let me know what you think on the gold market as we get started here. A big hello to everyone in the chat, by the way. Thanks so much for being here with me. I want to remind you, if you're enjoying the stream, make sure to like it down below while you're commenting whether you're a bull or bear. If you are a bull, you got to like the stream, and if you're a bear, you really got to like the stream. So do me a favor and just drop a like on the stream as well. It helps me a lot. Thank you so much. All right, okay, lots of mixed things. We got Ty who says he's a bull. We got Thabo saying he's a bull as well. Ivan bull. Heba is bearish. We've got Zachariah bearish as well. Got Lilla General LLC. What's up, you guys? Welcome to all the people who have chimed in here. Victoria is bullish. Frederico is bullish. Ajayi is bullish. Awesome. Or sorry, bearish. I'm reading wrong. Joey is a bull. I'm trying to read ahead while I'm selecting comments, but okay, cool. So we got some mixed sentiment here. All you guys are just confusing each other in the chat. So thanks for that. So let's look at the facts. Let's look at what's going on with gold. The structure here that we were looking at the other day does not seem to be holding. And let me say this. So for my bulls out there, there's been a nice impressive case here for the bulls recently. I'm not going to lie. I've talked about it many times on stream. If you've been here for a while, you're gonna think I'm like an old man because I'm gonna start repeating myself. But this concept here, where you had this downtrend really moving lower, lots of people selling that gold market big time, favoring the dollar during this time. We had some dollar weakness come in, some mixed sentiment here, and things started to go flat. Right? Back and forth. And then bam, just recently we had this beautiful technical breakout of the range here, which prompted a continuation push up here. Now, I really did think that we would make our way up to 1810, and it's very possible that we still could, but it's going to again be dependent on that news that we have at 2 p.m. U.S. Eastern. Okay, because the FOMC, the Fed meeting minutes is going to have potential impact on the U.S. dollar today. If they talk about raising rates sooner, it would be incredibly bullish for the dollar. If they talk about what they've already been talking about, what they've been saying, which is, we're not there yet. We're not going to raise rates yet. It could be mixed / bearish for the dollar. So we will see what the news brings. But for those of you guys watching gold, you got to keep an eye on those things, because this is the sort of thing that all of a sudden you wake up and gold is just moving and moving. So it's moving and grooving, if you will. So we don't want to get caught in that. We don't want to get caught with some surprise there up on the screen. You don't want to be like looking like me going like this, right? Wait, I'm like this. You don't want to get caught out of place with no idea what's going on. So keep an eye on those news releases. Keep an eye when they're going to occur so that you don't get caught and put in trouble. All right. So when we're looking at the gold market here, what do I think? Where do I think? Well, like I mentioned, even though I'm not like incredibly bullish on the gold market, I did think we were probably headed back to 1810. And I still think that we have the potential there. Currently, we could draw in a level here for you and see if we can do one of these. Bam. So we are currently sitting at a pretty interesting spot. As we go into the news, a lot of times you see this, we see a little bit of consolidation. We see a little bit of profit taking before a big news release, just because there might've been bulls in there who are saying, okay, well, I don't know what the news brings. Let me just take my profit now. Now, as we sit here, nice little rejections off the lows. It seems like gold doesn't want to move too far just yet until we get that news. Couple hours away from the news, but it has the potential to really move the gold market as well. So, because again, what does gold trade based on? Well, big thing is the US dollar, big thing is inflation, big thing is the bond market. Those things impact gold's price. Now, the reason I am mid to long term, or at least for the time being, bearish on gold, if we get up to some of these more extreme readings, such as 1810, 1850, is because of the rising yield on the bond market. And again, if you've been with me for a while, I've been saying this, but the bond yield has a big impact on the price of gold as well, because if bond yields go up, people might choose to buy bonds instead of gold. The age-old, they're like cousins that fight. You've got gold in one side and bonds in the other, and they're going head to head to see, who is going to be the winner there. And the thought process is that if you have two options. A lot of times when you're investing millions and billions of dollars, a lot of times people will diversify by putting some of their money into bonds or gold, right? And the case for bonds becomes stronger when the yield on bonds is rising. That is why it's so impactful right now. We've got bond yields on the rise here in 2021. And if that continues to be the case, it could be bearish news, bad news bears for the gold market. Flip side, if things get super bearish for the US dollar, if inflation becomes a bigger concern, people might flock to the gold market. So those are things to keep an eye on as they develop, and to keep tabs on for those of you guys who are trading gold. So anyways, from a technical view, we're sitting at a key spot. I probably wouldn't be buying right now just because even if you're a super bull, I'd be at least cautious with that news that's coming up. Could cause some spikes there, and it could go either way. So we don't know what's going to happen with the news. But if the news is incredibly bullish, let's do that scenario where we say, what's the setup either direction? Well, we're going to do X for gold and U here. Let's say that things come out very dollar positive today. That could be not so great for the gold market. Right? In that case, watch for a break underneath this area. There could be some room, if you're a bear, for continued sell pressure as we sort of have fallen out of this groove here to the upside. We fell out of that heavy momentum to the upside. That momentum is no longer, at least for now, it's not there. We were seeing price, every time price would dip, you'd get this nice pullback buy for gold. And I really did think, like I said, I thought we were going to do one of these, but it seems like we've taken a little bit more profit here prior to the big news release, which it also makes sense. So with that said, with all the dip buying that's been going on, if we get, whoops, let me undo that. If we get some very dollar positive news, that could cause the gold market to sort of crumble a little bit here, fall apart, as it already seems to be doing, because we're sort of breaking under this trend line. We are still in a downtrend on the higher time frames, so just keep an eye on that. On the flip side, let's say that we get some very bearish news for the dollar. Let's do the other scenario. This time we're going to do, let's use a fun color. We're going to use, how about like pink? That's not even a good pink. That's like a charcoal pink. Let's do, how about orange? We're going to do orange. Okay. So let's say that in the case of the news that's happening this afternoon, you get something that is very dollar negative. Okay. So let's say you get some very bearish news for the US dollar, or the Fed comes out and they say, hey, we were falling behind in some areas. We don't see this thing. We see growth maybe stalling, something like that. I don't know. If that were to happen, you could see some very bearish moves for the dollar, which could actually lead to some bullishness here for gold as an alternative, which could be very, very positive, right? In that case, this area, keep an eye on it, because we could see something like this. We could see a rally off of this, maybe even a move back to the highs. If you're an intraday trader, there might be moves such as, intraday looking for pullbacks, trying to get up back to the day, to the high of the week. And even still, if there's really good conviction there, you could see a move up to that 1810. We could see a straight drive right on up to that 1810 mark. So these are the scenarios that I'm looking at with gold. Again, this doesn't tell you what's going to happen, because I don't know, and nobody on YouTube or in the world knows with absolute certainty, except for, I guess, the Fed themselves, and maybe there's conspiracies out there. But for the most part, we don't know what's going to happen with the news. We don't have certainty. We don't have forward, knowledge of what they're going to say. All we can do is prepare for the scenarios that are coming with the big news, coming with the upcoming releases, and try and set up ideas or scenarios for either direction. Does that make sense? So for me, I am more bearish on gold than bullish. So I'm not super interested in rushing to go buy this thing. For me, I think that there is some upside if things are short-term bearish for the dollar or continue to be, then I think that there is some short-term upside. I think we could see a move, something like up to 1810, and I've also marked out 1850 should that thing sort of break out higher, right? Two targets for short-term bulls if things stay conducive for that. Whoops, I don't want to move that. Tyreek says, I believe the news will be positive. We will definitely see. It's really tough to tell beforehand. All right. Crispin says, can a currency be bullish in one pair and bearish in another? Yes, it can. Because remember, when we're looking at currency pairs, when we're looking at anything really, we can say, is the dollar stronger than the Canadian? Is the dollar stronger than the yen? Those two things could be, one could be yes, one could be no, right? And that's where we could see things moving differently. It's not just, two currencies. It's many currencies that are battling each other, right? So you've got the euro against the dollar, you get the euro against the yen, the euro against the Aussie, and you're just saying which ones is the Aussie going to do, or the euro going to outperform, and which one is the euro going to underperform. So that's something to keep in mind. So yes, very, very possible for the US dollar to do well in one area and weak against other currencies, because some other currencies might be stronger than the dollar. Will you close your dollar Swiss trade waiting for the news? If I do any adjustments to my trades, then it will be sent to you guys in the private Discord. So if I close a trade, if I make an update, if I move stop losses, whatever, it goes right out to our Discord where I share all of my trades there for you guys. Where to watch this news? You can watch it on TV. There's plenty of stations that will cover it. And you can also read up on the latest on websites like forexfactory.com. 2 p.m. U.S. Eastern, we have some big news for the U.S. dollar, looking at the meetings minute for the Fed. Okay? Private Discord has a cost? Yes, it does. Yes, it does. We have a full staff of people that work really hard to moderate it. So yes, there is a cost. There's information down below in the description. I'll roll the banner for you so you can check it out. We have a 25% off discount right now for those of you guys who have any interest in joining us. If you want to get in for this, it's going to be a busy day, I'm sure, with everything coming up with the news. There is a link down below in the description and a promo code if you want to join us there and be a part of our private Discord. You can figure out all the different perks and such that come with it. You get all of my trades alerted. You get access to our chat rooms. You get access to our coaching webinars with Joe Barreca. We have a couple different analysts who work with members inside of the group. So if any of that sounds helpful to you, check it out down below. We're doing a sale right now where you get 25% off if you use the promo code. All right. So with that said, let's see what else we can get into. Let's head back over to the charts. We'll take a look here and see what is next for us. Let's see. Hey, I can also change the background, you guys, if we want to. Like, check this out. I can do this background. I can do this background. I can do this. Let's stick with this one. This one's cool for a minute. We'll use this background just to change it up for a second here. I was playing around with my stream settings this morning, and I figured I would show it off while I can. Let's look. Anybody have any requests? Drop in the chat real quick what you want to look at. Happy to look at some different things with you. And we will keep chugging along, see what's going on. By the way, you guys, if you're enjoying the stream here and you want to see more of this content, make sure to subscribe in the future. I can work my way in here. Subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying this content, and we can do this each day. Can you guys still see me? Yeah. It's funny. Yeah, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying the content. We do this Monday through Friday. So if you're hanging out with me live here and you enjoy these streams, come back and hang out with us in the future. All right, some comments in the chat. We got dollar CAD, we got pound dollar, GU, EU. We already looked at euro dollar. anonymous. Don't you worry about that. You can go back in the stream and watch that. Seeing a lot of GU. So let's look at the pound dollar today and see what's going on with our good friend, the pound dollar. All right. So the pound dollar here, also a bit mixed. Similar concept here with this whole upcoming news. If you get something that's super bullish for the dollar, it could cause the pound dollar to drop. If you get something that is very dollar negative, the pound dollar might be ready to break out. And I have a scenario that I want to look at with you guys in that case. So let's actually start with that. Let's say we get some bearish news for the US dollar today. So we're looking at GU. I don't know if you guys are like visual learners like me, but I just like to see what I'm talking about. So let's say we're looking at GU and you get some very negative stuff for the US dollar today. Well, in that case, you could see the pound rise dramatically. And this might be a scenario in which we could finally see the breakout that we've been looking for on this pound dollar move higher. So this is if the news is negative today or perceived as negative for the FOMC meeting. If we get something like this, we could see the pound dollar start a move that could lead to the break that we've been looking for on this key spot. Because if this level breaks, I think we have almost free reign up to the previous high. So for me, looking at pound dollar, there might be a setup something like this where you get, the break, the pullback, and the move higher heading back to that previous high. The bullishness, there actually might even be lower time frame setups we could look at, but that's like the swing trade perspective. So that's what I'd be looking at, big picture if we got a lot of bullishness on the pound dollar. But let's look at it on the 1 hour chart, because there's also some scenarios, even intraday, for my day traders out there who might be watching this as well. So if you're looking at this and you're saying, well, pound dollar seems like it's got pretty good sellers in this region here. If we get a break, if we get really, really negative news for the US dollar, you could actually even make the break and retest argument here, right? Making a move up to 1.4. And there's some decent risk to reward there, I think. So if you get something like this, you get a break and then you got the pullback coming in. The reason I like this is you could get some decent risk reward, even on the intraday side of things, just risking, 20 pips, let's say. And you've got the move back to the previous high there, which is like 75. So not bad. I mean, there's some decent momentum plays if things came out very dollar negative. Does that make sense for you guys? I don't know. Comment. And then I guess the other scenario, right, could be something like this. Same idea, but flipped around. If you get something that's very positive for the US dollar, we could see the pound weaken dramatically and maybe even break out. We're in a key spot here for the pound dollar. This is actually one of the more interesting currency pairs to watch, I think, for this upcoming release. Because if you get something that breaks us out of this range, and again, that's going to take some heavy news, but it seems like we're defaulting right now to the bottom of this range. And if price were to get strong here to the downside, if the dollar came in strong, there might be some trades on the flip side looking for the breakout. And this is what I like to do before major news. I like to go through the list, go through things that I'm looking at and say, okay, well, if this happens, I could react this way. If this happens, I could react this way, right? And just identifying a if-then statement that I like. So, for example, here, I think there's a little bit less risk to reward there on the downside. Why is that color so weird? Let's get that to be a little darker. Can we do that? There we go. You can see that a little bit better. There might be some downside there, a little bit of downside if we get the break to the downside. But again, this is the thought process that I like to do prior to a big news event. Is we know that news has the potential to move the market, right? It has the potential to really get some of these currency pairs moving. And so if it starts moving up, if we start seeing some strength in the numbers, or not the numbers, but the news comes out as very positive for the dollar or negative for the dollar, it's an important thing to think about. Real quick, you guys, what do you think on the pound dollar? Comment in the chat. Are you bullish or are you bearish on the pound? I want to just get a sentiment check from you guys. And then while you're doing that, I'm going to pull something up for you on the website. So stay with me here and just comment. Are you bullish or bearish on GBP against the dollar? All right, let me get this pulled up for you while you guys are furiously typing at each other. We're going to get this sentiment pulled up and we'll see what's going on here. All right. Okay, what do you guys think? Let's see what everybody's saying. So we are going to say, I'm going to pull this up. I'm going to look at it this way. Get that banner off the screen. All right, what are people saying? Bearish, bullish, bearish, 50-50, bullish. Stefan says, Stefan says bullish. Definitely bullish, says Victoria. Reactive, not predictive, undecided at the moment. So creative coffee, I agree with that to an extent, but at the same time, I have like a fundamental bias. So like right now, I really like the pound. If I would say, the pound looks pretty good against some currencies. I wouldn't personally probably trade it against the dollar, but I'd love to be long on like pound Swiss or pound yen or short on Euro GBP because those are currencies that I'm not so favorable. And then I like the pound, right? Okay, thank you guys for your input. Seeing some mixed sentiment. Again, we don't know about what's going to happen with the news, but again, it's nice to just say, an if-then statement where you're looking at multiple scenarios. Okay, so let's look at the sentiment. I'm going to pull this up on the website. We'll pop it full screen for you. Bam, there it is. If you guys want to get access to this, you can come read up on the latest, retail sentiment anytime you want. This tells us what retail traders are looking at in terms of positioning. So we see right now that, like some of you guys mentioned, the pound dollar is pretty split in terms of retail positioning. So we've got about a 50-50 split where some people think it's long or some people are long, some people are short. So a little bit of a mixed sentiment there. It doesn't tell us a whole lot. Not like euro dollar, which gives us a lot more information. We see with the euro dollar right now that 75% of traders that are retail are short, right? Lots of short traders on the euro dollar. So on the dollar CAD, for example, we can just go down the list and flip it around. Anything that you guys want to look at, by all means, come use the site anytime you want. a1trading.com. So in this case, dollar CAD is almost 90% long, 10% short, right? So this just helps me to visualize what the crowd seems to be thinking. So when we look at pound dollar, a little bit of mixed sentiment. So it really does line up with this whole range bound scenario. So there's not a huge bias for me going into this. So I do like that comment about reactionary. So it is very possible that just playing either direction could work if you're just a technical breakout trader. For me, the scenario that I would favor would be the break to the top side. Hopefully that helps. Again, I wish I could tell you with certainty what's going to happen in the news, but I do not know. And I don't think anybody does know. So it's one of those things you just got to wait to see and try and play it the best you can by going with the momentum. That's the way I like to trade it. There's also trades with the news. There's different ways to trade the news. Some people like to, I would say you probably should never trade the release, right? A lot of times, people, what they'll do is before the release, they'll just put a pending order to a buy stop and a sell stop above and below price because they think, oh, well, the news is going to spike one way, so I'll just go with whatever it does and just put an order that gets me right in. The problem is slippage is really bad during big moves, so you can get yourself in a lot of trouble trying to do that. I know because a few years back, I tried trading news releases for a little while, got the best broker that I could find for it, and what happened is I made like $2,000 really pretty quickly. And then I gave it all back in a single trade because what happened. So let me explain that scenario for you guys. So what people sometimes will do is they'll say, okay, I'm going to buy stop here or sell it here. And they say, well, the news is going to spike one way or the other. So maybe if it goes right up, that's, I'll just get into my buy and I'll make money. Or if it goes straight down, I'll just sell into it and make money on the way down. The problem is, like I said, with slippage, you might have an order that tries to get executed here, and then you get filled here. And then you're sitting there and the price is already back here and you're like, oh, shoot. And you don't use the word shoot. And you're sitting there and you're like, well, dang it. Now I'm in a huge loss. And so what happened to me is, one of these scenarios happened. So I ended up getting triggered into the trade, but I got a terrible entry. Slippage was awful. And then I ended up taking a big loss. So that's why, I don't do that anymore, because I think that it's a cheap way to try and steal money from the market. And it doesn't really work like that. I think there's better ways to trade it. So if I was to trade the news, or how I do trade the news, is I trade the after effect. I like when momentum gets picked up after a big news event, after some sort of big unexpected or something happens. It can cause some really great moves in the market that you can try and capitalize on. If something came out that was just so dollar negative, right? You could very well see something like this, where, for the next 5 days, we see a move to the upside on the pound dollar, because the dollar is just considered trash for now, right? If that was the case, I'm not saying that that's what I think. I'm just saying it's one of those things, keeping an open mind to the news and how it could lead to some great moves over the next multiple days, is the play that I like to do. Because you have to think, if you're a ginormous bank with trillions of dollars to trade, or billions, I guess, like tons and tons of money to trade. The thing is, if a market really changes sentiment wise and you want to unwind from your positions, you can't do it all at once. Big players have so much money that if they were to sell everything at once, it would cause the market to just go down dramatically, and they wouldn't be able to get out at good prices. They'd be selling to themselves at awful prices. So big traders have to move slow. So they might, sell a bit here, and then sell a bit here, and then sell a bit on the rally, and then sell a bit more on the rally, right? So if you're a big trader like that, and you get news that is game changing, it could lead to multiple days of sell-off. So that's why us little guys and girls, we have the chance to try and play that. We have the chance to get involved with the downward movements or upward movements on really big catalysts. So that's how I like to trade. I like to trade with the wind in my sail, with some big news that's behind it. Does that make sense? Hopefully it does. Anyways, you guys, I think that's going to wrap it up for me. Before I go, I want to remind you guys, if you want to trade with me, we got some big stuff happening today. Probably going to be a busy day with this big news. Very well could see myself entering into more positions, or at least executing or updating the ones that I have on. So if you want to join us, here's your access point. Get 25% off of our gold membership. If you have any interest in joining us there, there's a link down below in the description, and there's a promo code there for you to get access for cheap. So if you want to trade with myself and the rest of our community inside of Discord, there's your way in. I definitely encourage you, if you like the way I trade, if you like the down to earth style that we sort of promote on this channel and in our content, it's the place to be. I think there's a lot of great people to meet, collaborate with, and to work with inside of the private community. So thank you so much for being here today. I hope you got a lot out of today's stream. I definitely enjoyed chatting with you guys and getting your thoughts on gold and the pound dollar and everything that's moving. So we will keep you guys updated tomorrow on whatever happens. But in the meantime, for those of you guys who are in the membership group, let's get to it and see what we can get going on the old US dollar news today. So thanks so much, guys. Have a great rest of your day. We'll see you back next time.